Okay, today I am doing a quick second video, just because I have background music that I play in the videos, and it's not, anything incredible or anything, but, I don't, like, can't afford to pay royalties on somebody else's music. Um, so, I just make my own. But I am not a musician, and so, I just kind of mess around with the stuff that I have here, and, sometimes something turns out sounding pretty decent, and, a lot of the times it does not. But this particular track, of all the ones that I've made, is, one of my favorite ones. And so, but the whole track comes out to be like 2 minutes and 31 seconds. So, let's see here. Okay, so, yeah, I like this one, I know, try not to, brag too much or anything, but anyway, when it comes to music, the music that I play in the background, um, like I said, I don't have classical training or anything, and so I'm also not sure when it comes to like the process if most people are more kind of like set on doing it in a certain way. As you might notice, if you pay like real close attention to the timing on some of my songs, sometimes like the timing of a particular like pattern is not exactly the same at certain parts of it, and that's because uh, as I'm going through and doing the arrangement here in the song editor, uh, sometimes I just like to try out like a different kind of, like just having it a little bit, you know, forward or back, or not exactly like hitting on exactly the same note every time. And if I like the way that it sounds in different ways or in different uh, arrangements, then I might just end up using all of them in the song, because I just kind of go through it like this and then see how it like flows. So I don't just copy the whole thing and just paste it forward. And maybe that would be easier. But what I tend to do, I usually aim. I figure 5 minutes is like pretty good. It's pretty good for most songs. I might eventually make this one a bit longer, but this is one of the ones, like I would rather. I don't want people to like get sick of it, because I want people to enjoy it. And I think that this one, especially in terms of, for Space Japan Studios, I think that it has that kind of like, sort of space sound. So what I do initially, I know I just said I don't copy and paste everything forward, but if I'm extending a track that I already did, I will initially push everything forward, because it takes a while, or it's like, I don't know, just kind of tedious to like have to keep on going back and like adding more and more. So what I do, just to kind of like take that aspect out of it, is I will start off by copying everything forward, and then I'll go through and I'll listen, and then just sometimes if I just feel like I it just needs to change at some point, then I will just change it at that point. So I can't always say that it's necessarily like the best spot to change it, but I at least hope that sometimes at least it might be a good spot. Now, this part here, I'm doing the drum track with these little blue ones right here. And the reason, you can do it in one big block like this if you just click and drag. And the reason that I don't do that is because if you decide that you want a portion of your song to not have, the drum track right there, at least as far as I know, there's not a way to just, remove only like one section in the middle of one of these big blocks. But if you put them in individually like this, then you can, go remove the individual thing if you need to. But the one thing that you should be aware of also, if you are watching and you are going to try LMMS, and if you're new to LMMS, when you are using, see, this is the beat/baseline editor, and that's why I can just kind of bring it forward. I usually do my drum tracks in here, but sometimes if you want to have like more variation as you go through, your tracks throughout the song for the drums, this isn't always the best option to go with this one because, as you can see, you just have this, the one bar, and and again, this is just me saying as somebody who doesn't necessarily know all the ins and outs, but at least as far as I've seen, or by the default settings and everything, it just kind of it just has this, and if you change it, it changes it for all of these. And so if you want to like switch up the drum track, then you would have to like clone this so that you have a second version of it, and then you can change the second one, and then you can jump from this one to that one, and so sometimes it's easier to just add the drums directly into your whatever song editor thing over here. The more I try to explain it, then the more you can clearly see that I don't really know what I'm talking about. And that's why I will always remind that these videos are not tutorials. They are simply some guy talking about what he does, and that hopefully the point of it is, if you want to be able to do things and you also don't really know what you're doing, then hopefully this can maybe help you a little bit in figuring out how to find your own way of doing what you got to do. But it's important to remember that this is not a tutorial, because if you follow my advice and I tell you something that is incorrect, I don't want you thinking that whatever I'm telling you is the best information, but I'm only just telling you what I do, and that's it. So right now I am just bringing all this forward, and the other thing, I'm bringing this forward bit by bit like this as well, because that's another thing. I as far as I know, and as far as I have been able to find information, I don't believe that there is a way that you can like highlight a bunch of these and copy it forward, like copy a whole bunch of them forward. So you just basically have to do it one at a time. The blue track here is like, that's the only one that you can click and drag to just put like a long version of it there. And so I don't think you could do that with any of the green ones. But these ones, as you'll notice, these are like kind of a bigger block. And when you're looking at it in the piano roll, you'll notice, this depending on how you have it divided up, like you can keep on extending this in here, and then these will be bigger. Oops, wait. Okay. These will be longer, if whatever you have in here is longer. So, that's important to know as well when it comes to your like alignment, because you might not always want to, as soon as you cross this line right here, see where the numbers are. So once I get to the end of 3 and I extend into 4, then it's going to take up this whole block on the song editor, and you might not necessarily want that. So, you want to be careful of that kind of thing. Or at least I should say, I try to be careful about that kind of thing, since this is not a tutorial. So, and, for anybody who's watching who thinks, how come he doesn't fast forward to these parts, or pause the recording until he's done with this part. Personally, I think that sometimes this type of video, especially being that it's just a guy doing whatever he does, but is not intended to be considered like the source of learning information. Sometimes it's just better to just kind of have it on, because paying close attention to it, you might not learn the best information from a guy who hardly knows what he's doing. And therefore, I think it's better to just have longer videos. And I would rather, especially on something like Patreon, because you're only going to see this video if you're subscribing to my channel, and if you subscribe to my channel, then you shouldn't be getting like bare minimum content. Okay, there we go. Why is this one like glowing? Oh, I wonder if this is the one. Oh, okay, this is the one that's open in the piano roll, that's why. Okay. So, we have this extended out to about 5 minutes. Let's go to where the original ending was. See, right about here, I felt like it would. And it looks like in the past I removed this also. past, actually. The previous ones. I also deleted this part at the bottom. You know, and this one actually seems like it's pretty consistently, oops, had about the same timing. In terms of where these cuts are being made. Okay, yeah, I guess these ones are a little bit more, but let's see how this sounds. Maybe that was not. Oh, you know what? Because okay. Alright, I guess this bottom one is not a good one to get rid of. Maybe I'll make one of these a little bit longer, though. Just to kind of break things up a little bit. Let's just see how this sounds. We're going to do the same thing over here. But we're going to make this one a bit longer. And then this one, let's bring the drums back first. This one I should have probably got rid of this also. And this. Okay, let's try it again. one more time. Yeah, that's, I like how that sounds. So, let's see, and let us export it. Completed tracks, wizard beats, extended, and let's go MP3. No, that's right, you can't see the menu windows, but anyway, there's a window up on the screen on my actual computer that shows the exporting of the audio. And then I'm going to actually put this in the background of the previous video that I just made that I'm going to upload. And then I'll probably post this one in a day or two so that or maybe I don't know, maybe I'll just post it tonight. You know, I gotta just stay on top of making the videos. Okay, so now that that's done, I'll quit out of here, and that is it for this one.